Hello from Grove Studios in Ypsilanti, a spot that is a great rental spot for bands who are looking for a place to practice, get out of your garage and get into the studio. Grove Studios has a couple of different sizes. If you're looking for a full band or a half band or even a DJ who needs to practice his DJing skills, this is a place that I highly recommend, as well as for podcasts. As you can tell, I've been doing the podcast here for about 2 years now, and it has been my pleasure to invite a variety of different folks from the music scene into the studios. Most recently, Glenn Phillips, lead singer of Toad the Wet Sprocket, Jill Jack, multiple Detroit Music Award winner, where we discussed, well, it's kind of the mortality of life. She had a near-death experience with COVID, and now we have a much lighter conversation.
Hopefully,
Heywood Banks,
a non-award winner, man who's never won an award.
Come on, seriously, nothing? Not even a comedy award?
Not really.
No. Well, Heywood Banks is my guest today. He's got a brand new holiday CD, New Holiday Standards. We'll throw that into the camera. And a show coming up at the Arc in January, which is two of the reasons we've decided to focus on you today, because you've got stuff going on.
It's amazing. after the COVID coma,
yes,
to come out and although I played Arc last year, but everybody had their mask on, and it's hard to do comedy when you can't see
Smiles.
if people have teeth. It's that's a big element to they're laughing, not going.
It's a little muffled, isn't it?
Yeah, muffled.
Well, I'm neither Bob or Tom, your biggest supporters in the radio field, but I am very honored that you've chosen to spend some time with me today.
Well, thank you.
We've spent a couple of chances in the past. 2011 and 2018, I had you in the studio in Ann Arbor when I worked in radio. And again, this time, something new to promote, Holiday Standards. Though, New Holiday Standards has a few tracks that have been on previous albums.
There's You Ain't Getting Diddly Squat and Frosty the Blues Man and My Dearest Mr. Santa Claus.
Turkey Bird.
And, Turkey Bird, yeah, variety of. But I last year, this woman named Tasha Layton was a country singer. Recorded my You Ain't Getting Diddly Squat song, and her husband's like a big band producer and just did like this kick-ass version of the song,
yes.
And it got like 1 million listens on Spotify.
That's awesome. You got like a $6 check for that, right?
Yeah, so I got my whole $6. That's .0003 cents every time it plays. So it pays off, It's not like it's kind of like being working at a bank or something.
Almost. Well, we'll circle back around to that very exact thought that you just had about somebody covering your song, but I would actually like to have you play a song from anything in your catalog.
All right.
Wherever you'd like to start, anything.
Okay, perfect. Okay. I want to thank you, old Saint Nick, for the stuff that you leave on the eve of Christmas Day. Worldwide overnight delivery's quite a trick, and it ain't no wonder that you ain't got time to shave. I know that you've been making me a toy up in the Arctic, and I hope this message reaches you before you've time to start it. Some folks like their Christmases all blue or even white, but for me the color green is exactly right. Santa, don't you bother with the chimney no more. Slip my present into an envelope and slide it under the door, 'cause nothing says a Merry Christmas like cash, cash, cash. Show me what the holiday spirit's about with a nice wire transfer into an offshore account, 'cause nothing says a Merry Christmas like cash, cash, cash. Oh, the size is perfect and the style is right. You know that it's the color I dig. And never, ever, ever would you hear me say, does this money in my wallet make my butt look big? Oh, Santa, don't you be no Ebenezer and pay off the balance on this here Visa, 'cause nothing says a Merry Christmas like cash, cash, cash. Why risk your life with the Black Friday chase when a C note denotes that you got such good taste? 'Cause nothing says Merry Christmas like cash, cash, cash. Oh, $100, $50, love to hear him crinkle. Snapped up in a suitcase of the jingle, jangle, jingle. Cougar ants from South Africa or euros from Spain. Santa, fly your reindeer by and make it rain. I don't need two front teeth or mistletoe kisses. Jackson Franklin and a grants my wishes. All I want for Christmas is, come on, Mr. Kringle. All I want for Christmas is a jingle, jangle, jingle. All I want for Christmas is a cash, cash, cash.
It's a fun one called Cash, 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 found on the newest Heywood Banks record, which is entitled New Holiday Standards. I'm going to show that to the camera, and then I'm going to go...
Only played in tune, and I remember all the chords. So.
I'm amazed. I'm impressed as well. And I'm also having one of those moments where I think to myself, did I actually hit record on the video? So excuse me while I do something unprofessional. Okay. Pretty sure I did. The audio is rolling. Is the video rolling? All right, that's fun. Well, yes, it is. So there we go. We've just had a very unprofessional moment in the podcast,
that's all right.
which only a few of them will hear.
Nice to know you're from Earth.
I am from Earth, and you are also from Earth. We're going to back up a few years in your life. You grew up, well, much sooner than I did. You were, I think, the first guest that I've had in the podcast that has grown and lived through the Beatles, Elvis, the first Dylan album. I mean, there's a lot of significant musical events that happened in your lifetime, having been born in the 50s.
Yeah.
So tell me about how those things influenced you, like watching all that history, really. You can look back at it now.
Well, probably I would... when I was growing up, I was in church choir and school choir, whatever. And my mom sang and was always in choir and in plays and stuff like that. And my older sister went to Interlochen, and my younger sister took piano, and I took piano, and they both, had really good grades and could read music, and I was the only one that got terrible grades and could not read music. So. When my mom bought my mom's left-handed, my older sister's left-handed too, and I'm left-handed, and my mom bought a Gibson LGO from a music store, and it was right-handed, and that she tried to learn to play right-handed, and she just couldn't do it, so she kind of gave up. And just when I turned 14 in 1964, and the Beatles landed. And all of a sudden, here's Paul McCartney playing left-handed. I go, hey,
if he can do it.
And people were. I would go to church camp, and people were, playing Kumbaya and stuff like that. And this land is your land. And I said, oh, that looks like that shouldn't be too hard, So I went and took a couple of guitar lessons, and the guy said, oh, you can't play. Right, you can't play left-handed. I said, well, what about this guy? What about Paul McCartney? I said, oh, well, I don't know. So anyway, that was the only two lessons I ever took. And I probably, Peter, Paul, and Mary, the Smothers Brothers, the Beatles. I mean, certainly I've heard Elvis and all those, early things. I think I was 6 or 7 when I remember seeing Elvis on
Ed Sullivan.
On Ed Sullivan, yeah. But it was mainly the Beatles, and not so much Rolling Stones or I liked the Byrds. I liked Jerry and the Pacemakers. I liked a lot of the English, import guys.
British Invasion.
Yeah, British Invasion. Yeah.
Cool. Well, where did you grow up?
In Birmingham.
Birmingham, Alabama. Okay.
Yeah. Michigan.
I didn't know you spent your whole life in Michigan. I wasn't sure about that.
Yeah, whole life here.
Nice.
So far, anyway.
You like it here? You must not hate winter enough to leave.
No, and I had, both my wife and I had family here, so we went to Vermont for a while and we came back, and my dad had passed away, and her parents live up north, so just to be, and we had our first child, and so we just kind of stuck in Michigan. And so we moved north of Ann Arbor just because 23 and 96 intersected and up there, and I could get all over Michigan to play.
Yeah.
I played a lot of like Mountain Jacks. I played the Raven Gallery in Detroit in Southfield.
Okay.
It was one of first kind of big gigs. But I dropped out. I went to college for a couple of years and dropped out in January 1971, and hitchhiked to Florida. And I've been listening to Jerry Jeff Walker singing the gypsy, I'm singing about the gypsy, the rambling way of life, or whatever the song was, just all those kind of, on the road kind of, Jack Kerouac vibe and stuff. And I definitely wasn't, I went to school for 3.5 years, and I'd have to go another 4 to graduate, so, so I knew that wasn't going anywhere. So and what I got positive reinforcement was playing songs. And I was like class clown in high school, and
surprised.
So hard to believe. And but that being, saying things inappropriately in class and stuff I got kicked out of school for, that seemed to be my most positive reinforcement. Certainly nothing my dad could understand that you could possibly make a living. He was disappointed I didn't turn out to dig ditches, but by hand, not a machine operator, but hand. So,
before you discovered music, what kind of things did you do as a hobby? Did you like, playing with Legos?
I had a tree fort for by the time I was 6 till I was 16.
Nice.
And my buddies would all come over. We work on the tree fort, and I don't know. It had a ladder that pulled up by pulleys, and it had like all nice. A whole lot of basic pulley machinery, thing. Just I don't know.
Just kid stuff.
Yeah, goofing around.
I mentioned this before, I think, in a previous interview, because we did discuss your class clownness. I guess we'll classify your school years, but you're a very intelligent man. Like, the way you write comedy is not like dumbing it down for the lowest common denominator. There's like funny references that require a fair amount of intelligence. Did you just not study? Is that why you just didn't do well in school, or you just didn't care about
before it used to be called looking out the window or not applying himself, but this was before dyslexia or any of those ADD stuff, was popular, and I think in a lot of ways it's humans are supposed to have their brains wired differently. That's why, thank God, there's people that know how to build a bridge, and thank God there's people that know how to make a computer, or right. Do all these other stuff, because I'd be just rubbing sticks together if it was up to me, making funny jokes about about stuff. So it's like everybody has a different path, and part of those paths they've been able to because you don't fit into the Industrial Revolution of you go to school and learn these things and work for GM or Ford or they medicate kids, for stuff, which is, I think, really a shame, because I think it suppresses all that exuberance. Maybe really, I was, at an early age, I think obnoxious is probably the most common word. How would you describe yourself when you were like 10 years old? Obnoxious. I think that's probably the term, but they didn't have, they couldn't give me a pill to make me, stare at a computer screen for hours, so I, my brain, just flourished or, turned into a wild shrub, it kudzued out, I don't know. I try and if something's funny to me, then I like to put it into a song. And it's, one thing I found is I've been doing this a long time, and it's so much easier now to write a song or to put the words together or to pull stuff out from one place to the other, because because I'm just so much older and I have so much more, to draw from. Yeah. And it's, I know I went to school with Tim Allen's older brother. I've known Tim since high school. I had Steve Harvey opened for me on the road, and a whole bunch of people that have rocketed to success. But but what I did, I've never like appeal. It seems like I've never appealed to a giant audience. It's always been like a narrow casting, to people. Oh, Heywood, yeah, that's the worst thing I ever heard, or oh, that guy's a genius. One of the two, what a moron, what a genius. It's one way or the other. There's no in between.
You've done it long enough to make a living at it, though.
That's
what you've done your whole life, right?
At the end of my show, I pull out my toaster and I said, "Thank God bless America," to actually make a living, just goofing around. I've had an incredible blessed life, to be able to, to go out and make people happy, I'm 72, which has been a lifelong goal to be room temperature, and to be able to come out on stage and people actually happy to see some old man get up on stage. It's like, hey, that's pretty cool. I don't know.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You could have chosen, because you started out as a folk singer, you could have stayed on that path and probably not really made a living, because not a lot of folk singers are.
When I was 30, I had, or maybe 32, I had 2 kids, and I live in Howell, and I would drive to Kalamazoo, play 2 nights, stay overnight at somebody's house, and make $200 a night, and that was a upgrade from 150, 175. That was in 1980, and I would come home and I paid our mortgage, which was $343.41, and then not work for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Nice.
So my wife Shirley is like just a miracle worker, was able to somehow on $64 we're able to feed our kids and keep the lights on.
Wow.
But thing is, today that's the same money that folk singers make.
I know.
Is the same $150 to $200.
Wrong.
And it's not, it's 40 years later. It's the same amount of money, and it's definitely not the same.
Doesn't go as far.
Doesn't go as far.
No, not at all. Crazy. Well, you chose comedy because it was more lucrative, or because?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, there was a. I would play it like a Mountain Jacks, and I would do 4 45-minute sets and 6 nights a week, to a bunch of people that, were either, couples cheating on their spouse, mashing on the love seat at the back, or a group of businessmen sitting up front. And probably the biggest compliment I heard was, "Can you turn it down?"
Oh,
that's,
well, that's
that's like
whatever performer wants to hear.
Yeah, can you turn it down?
Yes.
And and there'd be big spaces of time where I wouldn't have any work, and I always say it's like the in the Matrix, when Neo has been killed and he's laying on the bed, and Trinity, his girlfriend, leans over and kisses him like Snow White, and he wakes up, and then she says, "Now get up." And that's kind of the same thing as my wife going, "Now get up and get out there." So, she said, "There's a comedy club in Lansing. Why don't you go up, to Lansing?" Because I was doing funny stuff kind of in between. My mentor in performing was a guy named Gamble Rogers.
Okay.
Gamble was, when I dropped out of school and hitchhiked to Florida, I met up with some people, and they say, "Hey, you should know this guy Gamble Rogers." So I was introduced to Gamble, and over the course of, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years, he must have bought me, I don't know, 50 breakfasts. I'd be working, or I'd hitchhike in someplace and be sleeping on the floor someplace, and we'd meet for breakfast, and and he'd philosophize, and I could ask him about, when you're dealing, when you're doing stuff, what do you do? And I just watched him play, and the mix of doing comedy in between and doing in between songs was that's kind of the template how what I learned from him and his his stage presence and everything else. And so I was kind of doing that when I was playing at the Mountain Jacks. And so when I went up to the comedy club in Lansing, and I just took out all my serious songs and I just did my funny stuff. And people immediately, they hired me for the next weekend to middle on the show. And then 2 weeks later, I came back and headlined.
Wow.
Because I'd already done my 10,000 hours, of grinding through, and it's, it wasn't comedy. So a lot of what I do is just kind of, I came up with it in the dark. Mm-hmm. There's not, I've certainly heard, Steve Martin or Jerry Seinfeld or whoever on the Tonight Show, but, that's like a 3-minute segment of something. It's not like you can binge, half-hour comedy things or hour comedy things like you can today and just watch comedy for hours and hours. But a lot of guys would like work at Mark Ridley's comedy club, from like Tim and I don't know, a whole bunch of guys, worked there and kind of went through that process, and they would kind of learn from each other on how to do comedy and doing and having a guitar and doing comedy is like you're called a boat act because it's like oh, you got a guitar, that's like being you might as well juggle too, which I couldn't juggle, so I could only do the guitar. But because I came from years of songwriting and being a songwriter and trying to work on alliteration and just learn how to write a song to start with before I got into comedy. There's a lot of guys that are not they use the guitar as a prop or something, or they do a lot of parodies or something. And there's not a lot that are writing new songs.
You've written a ton.
I've written a ton. Yeah, I've written a ton of songs, and so it's show business. It's like Johnny Carson could do magic, he could tap dance. He could, do, a little bit of singing, a little bit of, everything, a little seltzer down your pants, it's, all those things, all those showbiz things all come together. Mm-hmm. So it's like all the years of being a folk singer, paid off, when I first got into comedy, because I could just smoothly transition and I could start to, make a living at it.
Yeah. Well, you did start out as a folk singer using your own name. Why did you decide to adopt a different name?
When in the course of just dealing with trying to figure out, there's no, like today people can probably go to a class. You can go to like
a business school or sorts.
A course and learn how to getting tips on being a folk singer. It's like you could go to farm or, any of the, there's, associations of folk music things, and you can take a class and learn how to, on songwriting, on, doing whatever. There's none of that back then. There's no comedy class you can go to. It's like you just had to, figure it out. And so at one point there was a guy that my sister knew a guy who knew another guy that was recording, did recording in New York City, and he heard I sent him a tape and he said, okay, we'll record some songs, and I recorded my Fly's Eyes song, and then this song called Wine Talkin' was the Wine Talkin', it wasn't me, and then some other song that he'd written, and it was real country, and he wanted me to wear a cowboy hat, and I was talking to my wife, I said, this is not me, So she said, well, let's pick another name then. So I said, what name do you think? She said, well, Heywood. I always thought Heywood was a good name. So, okay, Heywood. So it should be something shorter than as Heywood. How about Heywood Banks? So, okay, great, Heywood Banks, And so I did that for a while. I came out and wear the cowboy hat and played. And then I just kind of dropped it, went back to being Stuart Mitchell. And we were on a trip to, I was doing a bunch of horrible gigs out, way out in Iowa and Nebraska and stuff. And I was doing characters doing funny voices to annoy my wife and make the kids laugh. And
as one does.
Yeah, And so Shirley says, that's funnier than anything you do on stage. I go, oh, thanks. I'm trying to make a living here. And so she said, you ought to do a character. Why don't you try something else? Because I was just, in a vest and a necktie and being like, suburban guy doing, crazy stories about my mom having to wear a cone around her neck because she broke her leg, So we went to a Salvation Army. We were out in Colorado and went to a Salvation Army, and I found this terrible plaid, orange and yellow plaid, leisure suit, and just a big old tie, and some awful shirt. And I always thought that combing your hair on the side and combing it over was a funny look. So I got some Brill cream and I combed my hair over, and I found I have a big nose and a little chin. So glasses always look weird on me. So I found some kids' shop glasses. So they were even smaller than regular glasses. And I put them on, and I went on stage, and as this character, I just, talking really weird and just doing my stuff, but just there's something about, acting is, I never had done a whole lot of acting, and there's something really otherworldly about it's like when you don't have the connection to reality, of just when you're a little kid, when you're wearing your favorite shirt to school and somebody goes, oh, John, why are you wearing that shirt? And you go, oh, my mom made me wear it, and so you never wear that shirt again, and you slowly knock off, little bits of, who you are to be this figure that conforms with society.
Sure.
Whereas all of a sudden, as this character, I didn't have any of those restraints anymore.
It was freeing, I bet.
It was totally freeing, and so I came out and did my the exact same show I'd done 2 nights before as Stuart Mitchell. I came out and did, as Stuart Mitchell couldn't be here, his cousin's filling in, and it killed.
Wow!
And people were, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So I came back. I was playing at the comedy club here in Ann Arbor, mm-hmm. And this guy, Gary Kern, was in the audience. He was just funniest comic that died. He died back in the 80s or something. And Gary Kern says, "Why don't you use the name Heywood Banks? That's a good name for that guy." I said, "Oh, okay." So I took the Heywood Banks name that I wasn't using anymore and put it on this new character. And so they wouldn't have to say Stuart Mitchell's cousin is here filling in for him, and just it just took off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
cool. Well, we've talked for a while. How about another song?
Oh, sure.
What would you like to do?
Well, I'll play one more Christmas song. My new Christmas album is on. It's on Spotify and Pandora, and some of the songs are on Sirius XM on the kids channel. And this is She was going into labor when they checked into the stable, that black-haired, brown-eyed woman and her black-haired, brown-eyed man. When the baby came, was a miracle, they all exclaimed. A miracle that night in that old little town of Bethlehem. 'Cause they all saw a Scandinavian baby in the manger, looked just like a Swede in swaddling clothes. A Finn was in the cradle, playing with a dreidel, the sweet Norwegian Jesus we all know. We've seen pictures of the baby when he was all grown up, in Bible illustrations and the TV shows. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and a toga, like a frat boy from Minnesota, the sweet Norwegian Jesus we all know. Mary said, Joe, we need to talk, you see, an angel flew into my room, she did explain. Long story short, he said, just call me hun. Now I got a blonde-haired, blue-eyed son. Joseph said, Jesus. She said, ooh, I like that name. 'Cause they all saw a Scandinavian baby in the manger, looked just like a Swede in swaddling clothes. A Finn was in the cradle, playing with a dreidel, the sweet Norwegian Jesus we all know. We've seen pictures of the baby when he was all grown up, in Bible illustrations and the TV shows. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and Birkenstocks, like the manager of the Copenhagen Food Co-op, the sweet Norwegian Jesus we all know. Well, it's hard to put one over on three wise men, maybe one or two, but never three. They brought frankincense as a baby gift, should have brought Swedish meatballs in a covered dish. Joseph said, but this is my son, and they all said, there's Norway. 'Cause they all saw a Scandinavian baby in the manger, looked just like a Swede in swaddling clothes. As Finn was in the cradle, playing with a dreidel, the sweet Norwegian Jesus we all know. We've seen pictures of the baby when he was all grown up, in Bible illustrations and the TV shows. They all said, hey Maria, he could work at the Dubai IKEA, the sweet Norwegian Jesus we all know. Last verse. Well, at the Sermon of the Mount, the crowd that gathered there had never seen a Scandinavian, it's true. But none could forget his immortal words when Jesus spoke those immortal words. But none could forget the voice they heard when Jesus spoke those immortal words. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. 'Cause they all saw a Scandinavian baby in the manger, looked just like a Swede in swaddling clothes. A Finn was in the cradle, playing with a dreidel, the sweet Norwegian Jesus we all know. We've seen pictures of the baby when he was all grown up, in Bible illustrations and the TV shows. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and a toga, the Alpha Omega from Minnesota, the sweet Norwegian Jesus we all know.
That's called Scandinavian Baby. It is of the new ones, the one that
Yes.
have not been on the new record. That's
Yes.
my favorite. I love that one. You shouldn't write such complex songs. It'd be easier for you to remember.
or, but Christmas only comes once a year.
I know,
and I go, oh, crap, how's this go?
That's a good one. I really enjoy that one. One or two, but never three. So good. The newest album, again, is called New Holiday Standards, and it is available through Heywood's website, heywoodbanks.com.
Yeah, if you want an actual CD, signed CD,
Yes.
I will sign it for you and send it out at heywoodbanks.com, yes.
Thank you for doing that. And just a quick little ditty about this as well. I mean, there's some fun stuff on here for sure. It's called New Holiday Standards, and you briefly mentioned that you had an artist that covered one of the songs.
Yeah.
So I thought about what is a holiday? There's not very many standards that have come out in the last 20 years. Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You is probably a standard now. Like, what else in the last 20 years that is new? There's some great stuff, but none of it's become like a standard, but I think on this album, even before you said that somebody covered it, and I knew that from the research I was doing, that's the one that actually has the best staying power. It's one of the oldest ones on Think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Diddley Squat and Frosty the Blues Man. People love that. And, I tried to write, I don't know, just sometimes take like Rudolph. I took Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and it's like, well, why would, trying to like the backstory of Rudolph. So it was Rudy the radioactive bioluminescent Rhinitis caribou, which is, it's like a kind of deconstruct and reconstruct like the Scandinavian baby. So, it's like, well, how come Jesus is white?
Right.
If his parents, and maybe they should have brought, the three men should have brought Chinese food because it was a Jewish couple. Yeah. I'm just saying. Right. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying.
It's fun stuff for sure. But it's a fun record, including a few older ones. And I wonder maybe a Halloween record is on deck.
I've got quite a few Halloween songs. I'd have to write some new ones, but there's. It seems that there's so much more to write with Christmas. Somebody told me that Paul McCartney said that he's made more money off of
Wonderful Christmas Time.
Whatever is
Wonderful Christmas Time.
Yeah, Wonderful Christmas Time, which is one of the most god awful songs.
It's catchy, but it's a little inane.
It's like, oh, please don't play that again. But it's he's made more money off that than any other song he's written.
What?
I mean, yeah. Can you imagine? And the guy that wrote "Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer," built his house and put his kids through school with that. So I thought, well, I can write a horrible Christmas song.
Yeah.
Why not me?
Well, Diddley Squat's the fact that she was on American Idol, she's a Christian artist, she's got a following, and she chose to cover your song. That's really kind of cool, actually.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping more that that it's new holiday standards to be heard playing from a gas pump on a snowy Christmas Eve. That's kind of
that's your goal.
Yeah, that's my hope that while you're pumping gas, miserable with your feet cold, that you got you can hear Crinkle Crinkle or something, some horrible song.
Well, we were discussing your career path before we diverted back to the new album, so I'll go back to that for a bit. So Steve Martin had the banjo and an arrow through the head, but you had a toaster and some funny songs. Yeah. If it hadn't been for incorporating a toaster in your act, I don't know how. I mean, you were funny enough, but that's what catapulted you into more homes.
It's just, I look at it as just, it's like almost like God saying, here you go.
Here's your gift.
Here's I mean, it sounds like the stupidest thing ever, but it's for what it's done, and
it's your most covered song.
Yeah, oh yeah. People have won the talent contest. Kids have won the talent contest all over the world using that song. It's just
the royalties must be.
Oh, that pour in. Yes, They have no idea who I am.
Nope.
I played a place one time, and a waitress came up to me afterwards and said, "I just got in an argument with a guy who said that he wondered why this old man was singing the Toast song on stage when his friend Billy had written it in 5th grade." It's like, how come he's stealing Billy's song?
Well, there's a story behind that. It's my song.
Yeah.
Well, your comedy has become part of the lexicon of at least my world. I mean, I can't say the word toast without saying it and singing it sometimes. And other songs like Interstate 80, Iowa. I mean, I if I see corn, I say it more than once, multiple times. In our household, what's that smell isn't just said. It's, what's that smell? We have to say it just like you. So I'm sure that's happened in other households, that your comedy has become kind of part of the lexicon of their language.
It's really, I don't know. It's a wonderful legacy, and people, you really have no idea what you're, as a musician or as a comedian, you have no idea how, what people are going through and what that they need something at a certain time, and I've had people just come up and say, I've been going through a hard time, and thank you for writing your songs because it's just made me feel better, and it's like, well. Good.
It's an escape.
Yeah. And that's a wonderful thing to have people say to you.
You're actually a damn good guitar player. People forget that. I mean, you're not just a comedy singer. You're really a good guitar player. So let's focus on your musicianship for just a second there. But also the fact that you have to protect your voice as a singer too. And it seems that it's lucky for you that Toast is one of your biggest things because you're screaming in that.
Yeah.
And you have to protect your voice from that. So if you were doing that earlier in the set, you might have ripped your vocal cords to shreds.
Well, and I've never played in a band, where I didn't have. Most of the time I can hear myself.
Yeah.
And so I never like overcompensated and luckily I can scream.
You
still scream.
You do that in a few songs.
Yeah, I can still scream and
Dearest Mr. Claus has some screaming in it.
Yeah.
That's a funny one too. I like that one a lot. But yeah, I was thinking about the singer Heywood, because you have to protect your, like I gave you a bottle of cold water and I thought to myself as I gave it to you, like, really you're supposed to have room temperature water as a singer because you're shocking your throat, but maybe you don't go through that.
It's just me and my phlegm normally,
But anyway, so you did, other than the comedy albums that we're all familiar with, you have diverted and done serious music albums, the Swamp Opera and the Dear Calamity Jane or Calamity Jane. You decide.
Well,
audience, which is
I
it?
know. Oh,
I've got them both, sir.
Yeah, there was evidently we put it out and there was too many Calamity Janes, so we had to
add the deer.
Yeah,
I noticed that, but
I don't know.
Have people embraced those non-comedy albums?
We've had a lot of those two were the. All the lyrics were written by my wife, Shirley Mitchell, and I put the music to it, and I'm singing on Calamity Jane, but mainly those are like her projects, and she's had, people seem to like the albums, and they like the songs on them, and we've had Swamp Opera put on about 2 or 3 times from different people. I know how to, I can get gigs for, comedy gigs, but it's like the theater is a whole different ballpark for me. So
need a manager for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't know at 72 what your plans are like. When do you stop? And do you continue to do comedy, or do you go back and do something more folky like this? What are your forward plans? Do you even know?
To be honest with you, after COVID and kind of I just paid my house off just before COVID, and it was like, so all of a sudden there's money appearing in my that I would normally be paying out every month,
Sure.
appearing in my checking account, and not having and I get Social Security, so.
You could
the burn of having to go out and it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to go do more gigs to make a living. It's not quite there. Although I love playing, and I'm getting I'm as long as if I'm working all the time, I get really good at it, and it seems I rarely have a bad show. So. Of course, people are coming to see me, so they go, "Geez, that was an awful show, Heywood."
No one's going to tell you that. For sure. So the ARC gig, I don't have the date in front of me.
It's the 21st. It's a Saturday night.
Saturday night ARC. So those who are watching and or listening in the immediate area, because this is a podcast and can be heard all over the world. I know I have people listening in other countries, so you probably can't come to the ARC show, but it's worth checking out if you're in the area.
And I got tons of stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, for sure.
And all my stuff's on Spotify and Pandora and most of the streaming networks, and so.
I was doing another deep dive into your past, and I stumbled into things that I didn't realize were you. There was some Harmony House commercials that you appeared in.
Yeah.
Don Was and Aretha Franklin in those commercials.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I imagine those, the way they were shot, I imagine that you weren't in the same room with Don or Aretha.
I wasn't in the same room with Aretha Franklin, but the conductor of the Detroit Symphony and I were in the same room.
There you go.
He was a good sport.
I wonder what a Don Was produced Heywood Banks record would sound like, because he's produced some great people over the years since those.
Yeah. Was he in there?
He was in one of
Oh
them.
my gosh!
Absolutely.
Now I know. I didn't know who he was at the time. I didn't even know
He
that
was a musical act that were popular. For
Oh,
a
yeah.
while. They
Yeah.
had a couple hits, but yeah, he's now one of major producers.
Oh, sure.
Blue Note Records president, I think, at this point too, which is very weird. But
Absolutely.
you were in a commercial with them. Did you know that?
I should send him a CD.
I also stumbled into the fact that one of your songs was performed on American Idol by a guy who I don't think he got very far, but
Yeah. Oh yeah, he did. You Can Be Mean to Me.
right.
And he had heard it at a camp up in Minnesota. He had no idea who I was. He just, it's like the songs just like have taken their own, have just going off on their own. And so he came on American Idol and sang it. It's like, you can be mean to me, mean as you want to be. Just say anything that you like. You can be nasty and catty and cruel and unusual. Twist my nose with your fingers, trip me while I carry liquids. But as you, at some point, you'll have to fall asleep. Anyway, so it was. I wrote for my sister, for my older sister, and but yeah, he was on American Idol. They pay out. I think it's a minimum of 30 seconds, but if you go to 50 seconds or 60 seconds, you get more money. So you always see them like cut people off at a certain point. That's because it's gotten to the point where
royalties.
Yeah, where the royalties, would go up if they went any farther.
So you got the small portion.
Oh. Yeah, so they just played a little bit, and Simon went, "Do you know what kind of show this is?" And they didn't know. They had to like kind of search the internet to find out whose song it was. And they contacted me and said, "Oh, is this your song? Yeah, okay, well, here, give us permission." And then they never sent me the check. They just sent me the tax ID thing and said, "Hey, you never sent me a check on this. You just gave me the tax. That I had to pay the taxes." So finally, they sorted it out. But
that's crazy. I thought that was an interesting little. I didn't know that. As I'd done some more deep diving, I also found that there was a TV show pilot on WJBK here in Detroit. Back in 1993. Did that do anything? Did it go anywhere?
We had one. Yeah, the Heywood show. They played it once and then just decided not to do anything with it.
Come on.
Yeah,
it would have been fun.
It's like I know it was. It's weird. They like built, it's a whole beautiful set and everything. We had all these characters and hired all these people. And
Peavy's Playhouse was a success. We used to watch Sir Graves Ghastly, and what was the guy that used to blow up frogs?
Poop Deck Paul, and this is my age, but
could have been fun.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Yeah, that was and then they. I think it was so unsuccessful that they had to sell their studio and move to Channel 50 or something. So CBS, and now it's a Fox channel that.
So on the newest record, did you work with many of the same folks that you work with on your other records when you non-live band?
There's a guy named Steve Ali that's the musical director, and so he did a lot of stuff. It's the album it's all full orchestra, full band, and it's not just me croaking away. Except the very first song is Turkey Bird, and I play that with David Mosier. But the rest of the album is tubas and pedal steel and all kinds of different instrumentation and background singers and stuff. It's really a nicely produced album.
Well, I know you've worked with David before, so are a lot of these players people that have been on other albums with you as well, or is this a new batch of folks?
Yeah, this was mainly recorded in Indianapolis at the Bob and Tom studio down there, and so a lot of the guys are, just have been. There's one guy, Sandy Williams, has played on every album that I've been on. He's a guitar player, and. But yeah, there's some very, like everywhere, there's a lot of, incredibly talented musicians that, do studio work.
Probably not lucrative at this point. Have you ever thought about doing a band show where you have some of these players with you? So you got to pay them. I just see myself going on and
doing my little
That's what you've always done.
walking out stage, noodling and bluffing people for an hour and a half.
It's fun. Heywood Banks, again, is the guest here today in Grove Studios. Grove, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, is a great spot if you're in the Detroit or Ann Arbor area to do a podcast, as I do, or if you have a band or you're a DJ and you want to find a place to practice and make a little less noise so you don't make your neighbors mad at you. It's a great place to check out.
Really a nice facility. It's just beautiful.
I showed them the big room when we got here. And
it doesn't look like anything out front.
No, it's an industrial park next to railroad tracks. Next to there's a towing company behind me. I think we heard a beeping of one of the trucks backing up earlier. But it's a great little spot in Ypsilanti, so not far from Detroit or Ann Arbor, and it's working out pretty good for me. So would you like to do another song as we continue to progress? What can you remember?
Luckily I have a list here.
Oh, look at that.
Let's see. Do I know that? How about... This borrowed capo I keep putting on upside down.
Thank God for capos.
This motel mirror, big and brightly lit. I was jumping in a shower on a business trip when I caught my reflection, gave a startled hoot. What the hell happened to my birthday suit? My mirror at home, about the size of a dinner plate. Just enough information I could shave my face. So when I caught the big picture, saw the naked truth, said, what the hell happened to my birthday suit? My birthday suit, once a point of pride. Never thought a bit about taking a skinny dip in the bright sunshine. My birthday suit took an awful dive from tone to homely, just as if I must have missed a ticket to tell me, dry clean only. I'd expected my reflection to match my recollection, permanent press perfection. What I saw was a flabalanche. I'll get that next time. When I went to the gym, where a tune-up was my intention, when the trainer took a look, I think it mentioned intervention. Well, his exact words, if you want to know the truth, were, ooh, what'd you do to your birthday suit? My birthday suit, once a point of pride. Never thought a bit about taking a skinny dip in the bright sunshine. My birthday suit took an awful dive from tone to homely, just as if I must have missed a ticket to tell me, dry clean only. He said, you look like a pile of cheese curds rolled in cat hair. So when I clean up at a hotel, I get the shower all steamy, 'cause I'm a little squeamish about me having to see me. I've been swimming a sweater, keep my hiding. That don't work, I'm gonna look into vinyl siding. 'Cause my birthday suit was once a point of pride. Never thought a bit about taking a skinny dip in the bright sunshine. My birthday suit took an awful dive from tone to homely, just as if I must have missed a ticket to tell me, dry clean only. And don't get me started on that magnifying mirror. Oh my God, that's like turning over a log. Well, close. See, that's part of coming to see me. It's like, can Heywood make it through the song without clamming up?
But that's
always.
I mean, it's comedy, so we have to laugh
it's
at
comedy.
you screwing up.
That's my go-to.
It works for me.
It's raggedy.
So, what would your wife say about living with you? Is it difficult or fun? Are you constantly finding the funny in the mundane?
I'm the normal one in the house.
What?
Yes, I tell people we're a mixed marriage. I'm from Earth. And Yes, there's a. Yes, my wife's she's very creative, very interesting, lovely woman.
Of course.
We've been married a long time. She has no sense of direction, and we've been traveling for 46 years, and she's never come out of the hotel room and turned the right way to go to the elevator. It's like a miracle.
Wow. Never.
Yeah, never.
Wow.
Remarkable.
What keeps you writing new songs?
Well, I play the guitar for about an hour every day, and sometimes new things come up. One of my big problems is that as I play, my guitar playing keeps getting better. Not you can't tell from the last song, but more and more complicated. So when I write a song, there's really a balance. The best songs are just like 3 chords, because you aren't thinking about anything but the lyrics. But when I'm playing. You gotta. There's got to be. There has to be a certain clarity of what you're talking about, because people get distracted by the guitar playing.
Yeah.
So if the guitar playing's too good, let's talk compost, turning your lunch into dirt. That kind of.
Well, maybe you should do a guitar only album, an instrumental guitar. No, seriously, maybe you should, because you seem to love playing the guitar.
Oh, I love playing guitar.
Do an instrumental guitar record. Why not?
I don't know that I'm. I've seen amazing guitar players, and you can just pull them up every day on YouTube. And I think I'm as a it's like Steve Allen said, as a musician, I'm a good comedian. as a comedian, I'm a good musician. That kind of thing. So, I'm somewhere. I can say somewhere in the murky middle.
When you're writing songs, do you avoid certain topics that you like? You don't write a lot of political stuff, for instance.
Mainly because I'm lazy.
Oh.
Because there's such a shelf life. I did write a song about Obama when he first got in. How something about he had a whole lot of things to deal with. There's the climate, there's the tensions in the world, the economy, but the main thing, the most amazing thing, is that he's gonna live. He lives with his mother-in-law. Mother-in-law, your mother-in-law.
So there's a few that I haven't heard. How many of those come out? Like, how many songs do you write that we never hear?
Oh, well, hopefully. There's plenty that have just. Some I just realize halfway through that it's not going anywhere. I just need to do something else with the tune.
So you write different lyrics.
Yeah, just take it a different way. And sometimes it just takes not playing it for a while, and then you come back, and because you can really get hooked into just locked into something, and you can't, that you can't get out of. Like I have this great little riff goes to. I caught a whiff of waffle, but it wasn't my mistake. It weren't a waffle that I whiffed, was a passing puff of pancake. It's just, okay, what do I do with it?
Start and never finish. Song about breakfast food.
Yeah.
The beginning of that.
Yeah.
Well, either way, you're providing a valuable service. You're providing smiles for people. And
Thank you.
That's something
Thank you.
that isn't being done enough right now. There's still a lot of. How do we get back to people like fighting over the same things we've been fighting over for years? I thought we were getting better, and now we're doing it again.
I have friends on both sides, and I have a neighbor that had. There's a lot of people. there's a lot of people their political views were never entered into why I like the person.
Right.
And that's like a whole separate thing. Some people you can, one guy I've known that's just like, he's a just curmudgeonly far right guy, but I can slam him and I can say awful things to him and he'll laugh about it, and he just, he'll say stupid stuff that's like, have you Googled this? Do you, you don't, if you just Google this, you can see that you're wrong. It's like, I don't know, there was something about, Obama has gotten rid of most of our nuclear arsenal. It's like, well, have you looked at, Bush and every president has gotten rid of, nuclear weapons. Right. What are you talking about? Oh, okay. I never hear anything back, from that. But there's, I don't know, there's just a whole, I have people that I know are liberal come up and see me, and I've seen, people come up and with a Trump hat on that enjoy my show too, because
neutral comedy.
People need to laugh. They need to just release that. There's not, it's, I don't,
well,
people just need to release it.
Well, we're glad to have you then.
Well, thank you.
I wonder how many of your fans realize they're listening to a folk musician, because that's really what you are. You emceed the folk festival, the Ann Arbor Folk Festival.
Yeah.
I was the MC. That was
fun.
I
love doing that.
Yeah. But I bet they don't think they're coming to a folk show to see comedy. They're just going to see a comedy show. But.
Yeah, they and I don't think a lot. I don't know. That was really a fun night.
Yeah,
but what was thrilled to me is to play to 4,000 people, and they're getting my jokes.
Yes.
There's it's just like 4,000 people in my living room. Okay, you guys know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You think this is funny? Okay, good. Okay, we're on the same page here. Yes, I'm not Emmylou Harris, and I'm not, but hey, we can still have fun here.
We did have fun. It was a good night for sure. What is your go-to listening music? Is that the kind of stuff you listen to?
I rarely listen to anything.
What?
Just because I have so many songs that like I'm working on in my head that I just try not to pollute it with anything. Not that the music would be polluting, but it's just, if I can get those down, then I don't have to think about those things. And
you drove 45 or so minutes to get here. What did you listen to? News? Podcast?
Yeah, just I exclusively listen to you.
Thank you. I could recommend that on the way home.
Mainly what I listen to is
Acoustic Alternatives with John Bomarito is Heywood's favorite podcast. I said it, not him. That is your go-to though. In the car, you gotta have something on when you're driving to.
Yeah, I just usually listen to the news. It's sometimes I like listening I like to listen to NPR when the British come on, because a lot of times they put in some cool alliteration and it's just fun to hear other controversies they may have over there.
It's controversies. I got the joke
about aluminium. Yeah,
cut it out. Heywood Banks is my guest today on Acoustic Alternatives, recorded in Grove Studios in Ypsilanti. One more song before I let you on your merry way.
Well, I think I know Turkey Bird. I can play that.
All right.
I am a turkey bird, I live a turkey life. I got me 13 turkey kids, a little turkey wife. I eat a little corn, then wander around the pen. Have a drink of water, then it's corn again. Puffing my feathers out, strutting all around. Come on, check me out, I'm pecking on ground. Dangly noodle hangy thing, growing off my face. I'm looking good, only thing to say is blah, 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 blah. No, 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 na dee o na no, na dee o na da no, na dee o na da no na. My big brother Jake, he always was a smarty. He said when November ends, we're going to a party. Going to a party, I'll be the guest of honor, where they will present to me a red pop-up thermometer. I had a little dream, all the good china, like cranberries, any more corn. I ate too much, I'm feeling stuffed. I am a turkey bird, I live a turkey life. I got me 13 turkey kids, a little turkey wife.
Turkey Bird, one of the tracks you can find on the new Heywood Banks CD, which is also on a previous album as well. The newest album, again, is called New Holiday Standards. It looks like this in its physical form. It's available digitally as well, and Heywood appears at the Arc on January 21st. You've got other things that you're doing, too, in the meantime, but that's the only one I have memorized at the moment.
That's it. Well, let's see. There's stuff coming in right now, but I haven't put it on the calendar yet. So
HeywoodBanks.com is the best spot to find it.
Yes. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for spending time with me today.
My pleasure, John. Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you at the Arc on January 21st and perhaps before that.
Cool.
This is Acoustic Alternatives. You can find 46 other episodes of this online, whatever podcast method you decide to choose to listen to or watch it from. It's there for you. I want to thank Grove Studios once again for being an excellent home for me to do this in, and I hope you can join me again.